Hello everyone. In part 3 of osteology, I have covered the joints of the lower limbs that includes the hip joint, sacroiliac joint, knee joint, ankle joint and subtalar joints. Okay. I also covered all the muscles responsible that is doing various kind of movements with all the range of motions and also the clinical aspect of it. Hope you will enjoy the session. Do please feel free to write to me if you have any doubts. Let's start with the session now. Coming to the joints of the lower limb, there are many major joints, but the lower limb joints starts with the sacroiliac joint. Okay, this is the sacrum and this is the ilium. Okay, if you look into the this joint all over the body, this joint is something very special. Okay, this joint is something very special. Okay, you know what, part of the body weight is transferred to the lower limb through this junction. Okay, the upper part of the body weight is transferred to the lower limb through this junction. Okay, so that is the ilium part and this is the sacrum part. This joint is called as the sacroiliac joint. Okay, if you look at the articulating surface in the ilium, why I said this joint is something special, because this joint is partly cartilaginous and partly synovial. Okay, this joint is partly cartilaginous. This is the cartilaginous part of the sacroiliac joint and this is the synovial part of the sacroiliac joint. That means that this joint allows slight degree of movement in the body. Okay, so this is the partly cartilaginous and partly synovial. Okay, that is the speciality of the sacroiliac joint. This is a joint between the sacrum and the ilium. So the sacrum, the transverse process extends as a sacral ala and that is forming the joint in the posterior side as well as the anterior side. Okay, so if you look at the ligaments that is present between this joint, you have the posterior sacroiliac ligament as well as the anterior sacroiliac ligament. This is the anterior sacroiliac ligament and this is the posterior sacroiliac ligament. Okay, and here, and this is said to be one of the strongest joint in the body. This is said to be one of the strongest joint in the body. So coming to the hip joint, this joint is an example of ball and socket joint. This joint is an example of ball and socket joint. If you look at the articulating surfaces, of the hip joint, this femur has spherical head. The head of the femur is like a round spherical in shape and there is one small pit that is called as a fovea. This pit is called as a fovea. I will show you why this pit is present. And if you look at this acetabulum, the socket, we call this name as acetabulum, which is formed by the part of ilium. This is the ilium. I will show you. This is the ilium and this is the ischium and this is the pubis. So these three bones form the socket of the hip joint that is called as the acetabulum. Okay, this area of the acetabulum is the articulating surface and here you have the acetabular notch. This pit is called as the acetabular notch. To this acetabular notch and to the fovea of the head of the femur there is a ligament. Okay, that is I will show you that. Then these are all the articulating surfaces. Okay, coming to the range of motions, of the hip joint, you know, the hip is an example of ball and socket joint and you know in ball and socket joints there are movements that is taking place in various degrees. There are movements that is taking place in various degrees. Okay, so let's see those movements one by one. So the first movement is flexion. The primary muscle of flexion is the iliopsoas muscle. Main muscle is the iliopsoas muscle, and this muscle is a combination of psoas muscle as well as the iliacus muscle. Both of these muscle forms a common tendon that's called as the iliopsoas tendon and comes and inserts to this lesser trochanter of the femur. Okay, so when this muscle contracts, it causes flexion of the hip. This is the flexion of the hip. The hip flexion range is 90 degree. Okay, the hip flexion range is 90 degree, whereas the extension of the hip is around 35 to 45 degree. It depends. Okay, so now I will show you the main muscles is the gluteus maximus and the biceps femoris. Okay, so if you look at the muscles in the posterior side, the gluteus maximus is the largest bulk muscle in the body, and this causes hip extension, which is around 35 to 45 degree. This is the hip extension, which is around 35 to 45 degree. Okay, then the next movement is the adduction, which is around 30 degree. The adductor muscles are present in the medial aspect of the thigh. Okay, the adductor muscles are the adductor magnus, longus, brevis, pectinis, all the muscles that is present in the medial aspect of the thigh, the gracilis, okay, adductor longus. Then underneath you have the adductor magnus and adductor brevis. These are the adductor muscles. Okay, so this adduction is done around 30 degree of adduction movement can be seen in the hip joint. 30 degree of adduction movement it can be seen in the hip joint, whereas abduction is movement of the limb that away from the medial plane. Okay, so the abduction is done by the muscles that is present in the lateral aspect. Okay, example, the gluteus maximus, gluteus medius and gluteus minimus, and also the tensor fascia lata. This is the tensor fascia lata. Okay, so if you see the movement, this is abduction, which is around 45 degrees in the hip joint. Okay, which is around 45 degree in the hip joint, and this abduction is done by this tensor fascia lata muscles, then this gluteus maximus and also the gluteus medius muscles. Okay, so see, so this gluteus maximus, it is doing extension as well as the abduction. Okay, it is doing extension as well as the abduction. Then there is another movement, that is the medial rotation and the lateral rotation. So if you watch here carefully, the medial rotation is done by the small muscles that is present here. For example, the medial muscles, you have the gluteus maximus, gluteus medius and the tensor fascia lata. Okay, so this is the pectineus muscle. This is also helpful in doing the medial rotation. Okay, so this is the this is the medial rotation. This is a medial rotation movement. Which is done by pectineus muscles, and the medial rotation movement you can see around 30 to 45 degree. Okay, 30 to 45 degree, whereas if the lateral rotation is about 60 degree, which is done by the small muscles that is present. For example, the piriformis. Okay, so this is the lateral rotation. This is a lateral rotation. This movement is called as a lateral rotation. This movement is called as a lateral rotation. You can see the contraction of the piriformis muscle during the time of lateral rotation, which is around 60-degree range of motion. So apart from this, the hip can also do circumduction movement, the circular movement, which is combination of all these muscles, okay. So coming to the ligaments of the hip joint, if you look at the articulating surfaces, they are covered by the hyaline articular cartilage, okay. In the hip joint, there is a strong ligament in the hip joint, that is the iliofemoral ligament, okay. I will show you each and every ligament. This is called as the iliofemoral ligament, which is in the shape of Y, This is the ligament which is in the shape of Y, okay, and it's also called as Bertin's ligament. And it is said to be one of the strong ligament in the body, okay. It is said to be one of the strongest ligament in the body. Next ligament is the pubofemoral. It is attached to the pubis as well as the intertrochanteric line of the femur, okay, Then the third ligament is the ischiofemoral, that is the ligament between the ischium as well as the femur. This is the ischiofemoral ligament. These are the three main ligaments, that is iliofemoral, pubofemoral and the ischiofemoral ligament. These are the three main ligaments around the hip joint, okay. Apart from these, you have some bursas, a lot of bursas, okay, iliopectineal bursas, and this is the trochanteric bursa, and this is the trochanteric bursa of the gluteus maximus, okay. And now if you see, this is the articulating capsule. This is articular joint, hip joint capsule, that is covering the complete articulating surfaces including the femoral neck, okay. So there is one more ligament I will show you, that I have to go a little bit deep inside, okay. So what you see here is the articulating capsule. I will remove it, then you can see the synovial membrane. This is the synovial membrane. I will remove the which is secreting the synovial fluid for lubricating the articulating surface. I will remove that. And now if you see this one, this is the transverse acetabular ligament, okay. This is a transverse acetabular ligament, and I want to show you one more ligament. This is the ligament of the head of the femur. It's called as ligamentum capitis, okay. So if you see here, now what you see here is the location of the ligamentum capitis. So this ligamentum capitis is attached to the acetabular notch as well as the fovea of the head of the femur. You can see here. What I will do, I will select the femur and I will show, okay. This is the fovea of the head of the femur. This is the fovea of the head of the femur, and this is the acetabulum and the acetabular notch. In between these two, this ligament is present. This is the, I have to remove this femur and I will show you. Yes, here you see, this part is a fovea attachment and this part is the acetabular notch attachment, okay. Some theorists say that there is a blood vessel that is passing through this ligament and supplying the anterior aspect of the head of the femur, which is, in fact, when there is calcification of the ligament, leads to necrosis of the tip of the head of the femur, okay. So this is the important, these are the ligaments you have to know around the hip joint, okay. Iliofemoral, pubofemoral, ischiofemoral, ligamentum capitis, alright, and also the articulating joint capsule and also the articulating joint capsule. Okay, so let's go to the next joint, that's the knee joint. That's the knee joint. Okay, now you see, knee is an example of hinge joint. Knee is an example of hinge joint. Okay, in the knee, the only movement that is taking place in the knee is flexion, and after completing the flexion, it leads to extension. Okay, the flexion is around 160 degree, whereas extension is around 0 degree. So if you look at the bones that is taking part in the knee joint, one is the lower end of the femur. You can see this is the lateral femoral condyle and this is the medial femoral condyle, and this is the articulating surfaces covered by hyaline cartilage. Okay, and this part is the intercondylar notch. This part is called as the intercondylar notch. This is one articulating surface in the knee, and the tibia. Okay, this is the lateral condyle of tibia and this is the medial condyle of tibia. This is the lateral condyle of tibia. This is the lateral condyle of tibia and the medial condyle of tibia. And if you look at the superior aspect of the tibia, it is having a flat surface which we call it as tibial plateau. On this tibial plateau is covered by a hyaline articular cartilage. Okay, a hyaline articular cartilage, and there is a intercondylar tubercle. Okay, this elevation is called in between the two condyle. There is a in between two tibial plateau. There is a small elevation. It is called as intercondylar tubercle. Intercondylar tubercle, which gives place for attachment of the cruciate ligaments. But the fibula is not a part of knee joint. Okay, no way the fibula is having any relationship with the knee joint. So the tibia is the only weight bearing bone in the lower limb. Okay, fibula is not a part of weight bearing bone in the lower limb, because the fibula is not a part of this knee joint. Then coming to the other bone, the largest sesamoid bone, that's called as a patella. This patella is acting like a fulcrum in the knee during the time of extension. I will show you, I will demonstrate. Okay, so these are the articulating surfaces. If you look at the patellar articulating surface, this covered by the hyaline articular cartilage, and this is a lateral view and this is an anterior view. Okay, now as I told you, the patella is engulfed by the quadriceps muscle tendon. Okay, now what we will do, we will see the movements that is taking place in the knee joint. One movement is flexion and other is extension, and other movement is extension. The flexion can go up to 160 degree. Okay, which is done by the posterior thigh muscles. In the posterior thigh aspect, you have the hamstring muscle, which consists of biceps femoris, then semitendinous and semimembranous muscles, and this is a biceps femoris muscle. Okay, if you look at the hip flexion, the hip flexion can go up to 160 degree. The hip flexion can go up to 160 degree. The hip flexion can go up to 160 degree. Okay, whereas the extension from 160 it comes to 0 neutral. Okay, this is flexion, whereas if you look at the extension, the muscles that is present in the anterior aspect of the thigh will do the extension movement. You have the quadriceps muscle, okay, you have quad means 4. Okay, so it consists of 4 muscles. One is the rectus femoris, and this is the then vastus medialis, this is the vastus medialis, and vastus lateralis, and vastus intermedius inside in between this rectus. So these four muscles, rectus femoris, vastus medialis, vastus intermedius, and vastus lateralis, all these four muscles comes and forms a common tendon that is called as the quadriceps muscle tendon. Okay, this is the quadriceps tendon. So this tendon is swallowing the patella. This tendon is swallowing the patella here. You see, that is why this kneecap, that is a patella, is called as the largest sesamoid bone in the body. Sesamoid bone means any bone that is placed inside the tendon of a muscle. We call it as the sesamoid bone. So finally this is changing into a tibial, the quadriceps muscle tendon, and it comes and inserts to the tibial tubercle. This is the anterior tibial tubercle. So these are the two movements, that is the flexion and extension. Apart from this, the knee stability is given by this IT band. We call it as the iliotibial band. It's a thick band of connective tissue that is formed by this tensor fascia lata muscle. Okay, this iliotibial band is the continuation of the tensor fascia lata muscle and comes and inserts to the tibia in the lateral side. Okay, so these are the movements and the muscles that is responsible for these movements. So coming to the ligaments of the knee joint, as you know, the knee joint, the main thing you have to understand here is the menisci. If you see, this is the tibia articulating surface and this is the fibular articulating surface. Okay, in between there is two moon shaped, half moon, lunar shaped fibrocartilaginous disc. We call it as the menisci. This is the medial menisci. So this is the lateral menisci and this is the medial menisci. Okay, you can see here. Yes, this is the menisci. This is a fibrocartilaginous disc-like structure that is present in between the tibia and the femur and the tibia. Okay, to act as a shock absorber. So this is a menisci that is present in between these two bones. Okay, then coming to the ligaments, there are around 5 important ligaments around the knee. Okay, one is the collateral, medial collateral and lateral collateral ligaments. I will show you. Okay, this is the medial collateral ligament. This is the medial collateral ligament, also called as the tibial collateral ligament, and this is the lateral collateral ligament, also called as the these are the lateral collateral ligaments, also called as the fibular collateral ligament. Okay, these two important ligament. Okay, then I will remove this medial collateral, all tibial collateral and fibular collateral ligament. Okay, then apart from this, you have the lateral patellar retinaculum. These are not as strong as those two ligaments, and this is the medial patellar retinaculum. Then in the posterior aspect, there are posterior oblique popliteal ligament. Okay, and this is the arcuate popliteal ligament, but the whole articulating surfaces is covered by articulating capsule, joint capsule, and inside the capsule you have the synovial membrane. Okay, now if you see inside the joint, there are two ligaments. One is the posterior cruciate and anterior cruciate ligament. This is very strong ligament. Okay, so this is the anterior cruciate ligament which prevents the slipping of tibia to the anterior side. Okay, this is the anterior cruciate ligament, and this is the posterior cruciate ligament, which prevents the hyperextension of the knee. Okay, which prevents the hyperextension of the knee. So, and in the anterior side between the patella and the tibial tubercle, we have the patellar ligament. Apart from this, there are around 12 bursas. So 5 important ligaments. One is medial collateral, lateral collateral, anterior cruciate, posterior cruciate, and the ligamentum patelli. Okay. Apart from this, the posterior popliteal ligament, then lateral arcuate ligament. All these are the anterior lateral ligament of the knee. These are all the connective tissue fibers that is giving stability for the knee, that is giving the stability for the knee joint. Apart from this, there are around 12 bursas. Bursas, as I told you, they are the temporary reservoir of synovial fluid. So in that you have the prepatellar bursa, deep infrapatellar bursa, subcutaneous infrapatellar bursa, and this is a inferior subtendinous bursa of the biceps, and here also you have these two bursa, that is a lateral subtendinous bursa of the gastrocnemius, and this is a medial subtendinous bursa. Okay, so these are all the ligaments and the bursas. Here you have the semimembranous tendons bursa. So why I am telling the word bursa? Because in case if there is sudden inflammation of the around the knee, periarthritis, we call it as periarthritis, inflammation of the connective tissues around the joint. Okay, so you have to know whether it is bursal inflammation or joint capsulitis, joint capsule inflammation. Okay, so you have to feel for the tenderness and you have to diagnose accordingly. And there are many tests: Lachman test, Dreyer test, medial collateral stress, lateral collateral stress. So there are various tests to find out the stress and strain of the ligament, and also if there is meniscal injury, then also we can do lots of test. Okay, manual test. The testing of the joints, I will take a separate lecture. Okay, with the demonstrations hopefully. So these are the various ligaments that is present around the knee joint. Okay, now you know the muscles, the movements in the knee joint, muscles around the, muscles that is causing the movement, the ligaments, the articulating surfaces, and the bones involved in the knee joint. Okay, next we will go for the ankle joint. The ankle joint is also an example of hinge joint. Okay, which does only the flexion and extension. Okay, the flexion of the ankle joint is called as dorsiflexion. The extension of the ankle joint is called as a plantar flexion. The extension of the ankle joint is called as a plantar flexion. Now let us see the articulating bones involved in the articulating surfaces of the ankle joint. Okay, so if you look at the inferior aspect of the tibia, it is some sort of a quadrangular articulating area, and in the medial side the extension of the tibia is called as a medial malleolus. Okay, likewise the tail end of the fibula, is also giving the articulating surface with the ankle bone, that is the lateral, we call this part as lateral malleolus. Okay, so then the other articulating bone in the ankle joint is the talus. Okay, this is the ankle joint articulating surface. This is an ankle joint articulating surface. So if you see here now, the bones that is involved in the ankle joint is this talus bone, inferior aspect of the tibia, and the lateral malleolus of the fibula. Okay, so coming to the movements of the ankle joint, you have dorsiflexion and plantar flexion. So if you look at the dorsiflexion, it is the range of motion of the dorsiflexion is around 20 to 30 degree, which is done by the extensor digitorum longus and extensor hallucis longus. Now I will demonstrate the dorsiflexion movement. Okay, this is the extensor digitorum longus muscle. If you look here, this is the dorsiflexion. This movement is called as a dorsiflexion, and which is around 20 to 30 degree, and you can see the movement is taking place between the talus, then the fibula, and the base of the tibia, okay. Then coming to the plantar flexion, the plantar flexion is also called as a flexion. The dorsiflexion is also called as the extension. So if you see the muscles that is present in the posterior aspect, these are the plantar flexor muscles. These are the main muscle is the flexor digitorum longus. This is the main muscle. The flexor hallucis longus. Okay. So if you see here, okay, this is the plantar flexion, which is also called as a flexion. This is called as a plantar flexion, which is around 30 to 50 degree range of motion. Okay, this movement also is taking place between the talus and the tibia. Okay, between the talus and the tibia. Okay, next if you look, there are other two movements that is called as a inversion and the eversion. So this movement is taking place in the subtalar joint. What is subtalar joint? That is a joint between the talus and the calcaneum. So this is a calcaneum bone. And this is a talus bone. You can see a concave articulating surface of the talus. Okay, you can see a concave articulating surface of the talus. So this joint between the talus and the calcaneum in the anterior side as well as inferior side, we call it as the subtalar joint. So if you look closely at the inversion, the inversion is around 50 degree and the eversion is around 25 degree. Okay, so the main muscle is the tibialis anterior for the inversion, and this is the extensor hallucis longus or the tibia. This is the tibialis anterior. Okay, this is the tibialis anterior, and this movement is called as a inversion movement, which is taking place between the subtalar joints, between the calcaneum and the talus. Okay, so this movement is called as a inversion, and it is around 50 degree range. Okay, you have to place the goniometer here in the L shape and record the joint range of motion. Whereas, yes, this movement is called as eversion of the foot, which is done by the fibularis tertius, also called as the peroneus tertius, and the range of motion of eversion is around 25 degree, and range of motion of the eversion is called as around 25 degree. Now let me go in and discuss about the ligaments that is present. Okay, and you know the main muscle of this extension is this gastrocnemius and soleus muscle. Okay, when you walk, this is the powerful plantar flexor muscle. This is the power, that is the flexion of the ankle joint. Okay, so this muscle is very important. This is called as a calf muscle. And it has two parts, the soleus part and the gastrocnemius part, and they both come and form a common tendon that is called as Achilles tendon, which is one of the strongest tendon in the human body. The Achilles tendon is the strongest tendon in the human body, that is causing the plantar flexion. Okay, now let us go and discuss about the ligaments that is present in the ankle joint. As I told you, ankle is an example of hinge joint, and it should have collateral ligaments. So in the medial side, you have the medial collateral ligaments. Okay, this is the tibiocalcaneal part of the medial collateral ligament. So both these are the medial collateral ligament, and this is a lateral collateral ligament. This ligament is called as a lateral collateral ligament. Okay, here. Okay, So these are the anterior talofibular ligament, which is also called as a lateral collateral ligament. Okay, so don't forget the medial collateral ligament. It has three parts: the tibio-navicular attachment, then the tibio-calcaneal attachment, and also this is anterior tibiotalar part. Okay, so the medial collateral ligament is having three parts, that is attached to the talus, then the navicular and the calcaneum. Okay, so this is a medial collateral ligament, and lateral collateral ligament you have the superior fibular retinaculum, and deep to that you have the calcaneofibular ligament and also the anterior talofibular ligament. Okay, so these two are the collateral ligaments. That's very important because this ligament is prone for sports injuries. During the sports injury, if the leg goes for inversion or eversion, this ligament is prone for strain. This ligament is prone for strain. Okay, now what I will do is I will show you the ligaments that is present in the inferior aspect, Okay, here you have the posterior tibiofibular ligament that is attaching the fibula and the tibia, and this is the anterior tibiofibular ligament that is attaching the tibia and the fibula. Okay, now what you see is the extensor retinaculum. Okay, you know this retinaculum is very important in order to support the muscle tendons that is passing through this. Suppose if this tendon is not present, and during the time of extension, these ligaments will pop up. These tendons will be popping out. Okay, so this extensor retinaculum is acting as a lock for these tendons. Okay, so this is a thing you have to know about the ankle. Apart from this, there are various ligaments. Okay, in the base of the foot, and this is the plantar aponeurosis. Okay, so this is prone for any inflammation. The plantar aponeurosis is prone for any inflammation, that's called as plantar fasciitis. Okay, so then you have the long plantar ligaments that is present in the plantar surfaces. These two ligaments are maintaining the arches in the foot. Arches in the foot. Okay, if these ligaments are weak, then the arch gets collapsed. The base of the foot arch gets collapsed. Okay, this is the plantar calcaneocuboid ligament. Okay, so now what I have discussed about all the ligaments, movements in the joint, and also the important muscles that is responsible for various movements. By this we will complete the arthrology. Still there are some small joints like PIP joints, proximal interphalangeal, distal interphalangeal. Okay, so you know, as a thumb rule, know that any hinge joint will be having collateral ligaments. Okay, so this is what you have to know. And moreover, we will then still you have the facet joints in the knee. You have the facet joints in the spinal column. So these facet joints we will discuss separately in the clinical cases. Okay, fine. Thank you for your time. By this we are completing the arthrology, and we will go for the next topic in the other parts. Okay, thank you.